All right, I am refreshed. It's been another day, and so it's ready for me to continue coding, getting all the tasks and loading them up to be at the beginning of our app. And I've come to some ideas of how we can do this properly. The other thing is, I went back and reviewed the code for storing the token because, heck, we're storing stuff in the UDEX store um, after successfully logging in. So we should be able to do the same thing, but we were running into some interesting problems. Um, so uh, First off, I'm thinking we're going to do this in the home page because that's where the tasks are going to be loaded. So we're going to start there. Um, that being said, let's make sure that the API and the store are sort of like ready to accept tasks. So I'm going to go to our API first. So where's my, oh, it's the mod API. Okay, so we have get tasks. It takes in this stir that's a token. We're going to go to tasks. Okay, this is looking like it's working. Okay, we have a task response. And a task response is coming from this task. This task is from a store task, which clone default serialize, deserialize. That seems fine. We have options. Okay, so we have all of this good stuff. I also realized that priority is always just ABC. So that's a char. So that's what we can store in here. Okay, so it's going to come in through this API. We're going to get the tasks, and then we're going to store that into the store with set tasks. So we're going to have our dispatch. We're going to do a reduce here. We're going to have our store. And then I want to set the tasks equal to this. We kind of need to take in the task too, don't we? And this should be a task response. We can take ownership of it here. We don't need it anywhere else. This will be tasks.data, which will then be, I think, what we need. So that makes you happy here. And we can't really do this, this set task right here. Okay, so I think we're ready to go ahead and give this another shot. First things first, we need the token. I'm just going to go ahead and skip getting the store out here separately because I think that's where we're running wrong. We're trying to use the store multiple times, and the entire point of something like use store is that we can use it. Well, we can just grab this and just get a unique store each time. So I'm just going to say I want a token. I know that you're going to be a string, and then we're going to use useStore, which is this persistent store. Then give me the state. We're going to map this. We're going to have the store inside, and I want to get out of this store.token. We're going to clone it out and then unwrap or default. And that is going to give us the token. I don't know if there's anything else we need right this second for that. So let's go ahead and move on to our next section, which is we're going to need to do a UseEffect. And the reason for having to do a UseEffect is because I want this to we want this to re-render at some point of time in the future. And the problem is that the first time this loads, the token doesn't exist. It's just going to be an empty string. So UseEffect is going to run every time that this component re-renders, which is also whenever it reloads this data from local storage. So we're going to do a UseEffect. We're going to have our closure here. Now this closure is interesting because I'm going to put a to do at the very end here. We have to return a closure, which is basically going to be what it's going to run that at cleanup, like whenever the component is being destroyed. This this home, I guess it will be destroyed sometimes. Now, next thing, let's start by loading up. I want to actually verify inside of here in our storage. We see tasks, which is length of 0. Okay, so as soon as we get them successfully in here, I'll see them in here. Okay, so if the token exists, so this has to exist, which means we're going to need a move. So if token is empty, so I want you to be if not is empty. So if you're not empty, you have something in there, then I'm going to want to, what do we want to do? We want to probably do our request at this point in time, which does mean we need to have our wasmBindGen futures spawn local. We're going to do an async and a move. Sorry, not a closure, just a block. Now we're going to do our request. So we're going to get our tasks equals get the tasks, and we're going to pass it in a reference to this token and await that. You're upset because, oh, interesting. I was sort of expecting the to-do to be okay with this, but it's we're not returning anything. So let's go ahead. We don't really have anything to do with that function right now. It's perfectly fine to just have it do nothing, but we do have to return some kind of closure. Okay, so we now have the tasks. We can go ahead and let's just log this out. So we just do one little step at a time. I can't log the tasks out directly. We have to convert this into some kind of string. So we're going to do a assert JSON to string pretty and a reference to the tasks. Oh, and an unwrap here because that returns a result. And here we go. Okay, so we're actually seeing these are all the tasks that this user has. Okay, so things are looking good so far. Now I want to stuff these tasks into the store. So we want to now do the set task, which means we need to get the dispatch. This is where we ran into trouble yesterday, or in the last video, because the store wasn't living long enough. And so this is where we're going to use a slightly different strategy. We're going to try dispatch equals, we're going to do a different UseStore. So we're going to do a persistent store, store. And then we're going to do a dispatch, and we're going not call, clone. So far, so happy. We now have this dispatch. We're going to move it inside of here. I need it to get inside this block, but I can't go 2 blocks in. So inside of this token, so if the token is empty, we're going to go ahead and clone it in here. And then finally, we should now have access to it at this point. So I believe it's set tasks. That is, we have our tasks and we have our dispatch that we're using, and this doesn't return anything. Okay, so I have no errors showing. Let's see if this is working. I'm gonna go ahead and hit refresh. Oh, we got an error. Panicked on a result unwrap. Network error. Let's go ahead and see what our network error is. Oh, look at this. Okay, we're getting. So we are actually successfully getting the task, but look at this. We have an infinite loop at this point in time. It's just getting these tasks as often as it can. Now, why is this happening? It's because UseEffect is a lifecycle method. It's both when the component first loads, but then after it re-renders every single time, which is a little bit less suboptimal for what we want right now, because as soon as we have a token, we're using it, and then we're using it as soon as it loads, and then again and again and again. That is not great. So here's what I'm thinking of how to solve this. We're gonna put a flag into our store of like whether or not we've loaded the data initially. So pub, like let's just do like loaded. Let's just do like loaded. Is loaded maybe? And this will be a boolean. I don't remember what this is going to be, what boolean's default is. We're gonna, let's see, does it say here what the default? Well, we'll find out. So we want this to be false to sort of like initialize the app. And we should be able to see that come in here in local storage. Oh, that's not loading at all. Oh, I'm logged out now. That would explain that. I need to actually set something for this to sort of like have something in there. So let's try logging in again. Is loaded is false. Okay, excellent. Now I'm back into the infinite loop problem, but having that be false is going to be great because now we can test that. So we need to grab loaded out here too. So that is loaded. This is going to be a boolean. So we're going to do a use store, persistent store, and store. We're going to map. Let's see, in the map, we're gonna, oh wait, nope, it's dot state. Then we map, take our store. We're going to return store dot is loaded and unwrap or default. Okay, so now we have that is loaded, we can now use that in here too. So we want, if our token is not empty and is loaded needs to be false. So is false. Then as soon as this happens and we get our tasks and then we set our tasks, we also need to now switch the is loaded. You're just saying, hey, if you're that, I could probably just do not is loaded. We're now going to want to flip the bit. Like, I guess it's not really flip bit. It's going to be flipping is loaded over. So back to our store. function. We're just gonna say like mark loaded. I don't need. We're just gonna take in the dispatch. Constantly writing this entire thing out. We're doing this like this is the third time we're doing this. This is a pretty long type here. It's kind of annoying to write. We can create a custom type for this. Let's do that really quickly. I'm gonna put that above. Okay, below the uses, above the stores. I'm gonna make this public just in case we need access to it. And this is gonna be a, what are we gonna call this? Pub type. I don't want to just be dispatch because I don't want to shadow that and lose it. So this is really gonna be a, like maybe we'll call it like a store dispatch. And you are gonna be this. This way, if we also want to go back to a basic store or something else, we can just do that in one place. And now all of you can be changed to a store dispatch. And you are a store dispatch. Just makes it a little bit easier to write. We're not going to return anything. We're just going to do a dispatch, reduce. And then we're going to get the state. We're going to set state dot is loaded. And we're going to set that to true. Which means we can now use this mark loaded function. Now we're using this dispatch here, which means I can just go ahead and clone this again, and then we'll use it down here. I think it's mark loaded. And there we go. So we should now only load that once. Go ahead and give this a shot. See if it's working. So first of all, if I hit refresh, we get the oh, this is the WASM. Oh, you know what? This is a fun issue here. Is loaded is now true, and it's because, oh, and we have our object in here. Okay, so that's great. Is loaded is true, and we're never marking it as not true. So that's a potential issue. How do we want to like potentially deal with that? We could tell, like, have another mark loaded maybe. What if we mark loaded and we have like what the new loaded is going to be? So we just say something like new state, or maybe loaded state. That's a better name. Loaded state. You're going to be a boolean. I want to just set you to be this loaded state. And mark loaded here is going to become true. But maybe in this function down here, maybe we can try another one. I don't know if we need to do a move for this. Let's find out. I want to mark loaded as false whenever this unloads, so it re-gets all the tasks. So mark loaded. This is gonna be loaded. I want loaded state. I want you to be false. Let's see. And what? Oh, expected and FN once. Oh, no semicolon. I want to actually return this this method here. And you're fine. This state was state may outlive borrowed value loaded state. I want to just set you to be what you are. Oh, we need to move you. Okay, so now let's go ahead and log ourselves. Well, we should, every time that this loads in, so hard to see whether or not it's actually, oh, my link is not working. Oh, I think it's crashed this browser. Never mind. Okay, hold on. Let's try that again. Firefox? There we go. Oh, I must have a infinite loop in here somewhere because that is not happy. So, oh, it's unloading this load state when it's done, and then loading. So this is probably not the best of ideas. This is probably now setting. Let's go ahead and undo this really quickly, and get ourselves back to a sort of a non-infinite loop state. We're gonna have to figure out a different way of reloading these. There we go. Okay. So I am successfully getting a task. We have them at this one point. We need some way for us to know that that these are not being like loaded. I'm now wondering, maybe we shouldn't put this in the store. If we want like an initial load, what if we have our loaded state instead of in there in like local state? So we can like use a use state for that. I think that might be better. So I'm going to come back into our store. I'm going to remove this mark loaded. It's a good idea, but unless we can somehow tell it to not be in local storage, which have to check if there's no other persistence here that we can deal with. So I'll have to I'd have to like create my own store for that. I don't feel like doing that right now. That would be a little bit more advanced than this course is for. So we're gonna remove you. Okay, we have, this is great here. Is loaded. Okay, so is loaded. I now want to switch this over to a use state. So I'm gonna do a use state. The difference here is this is not the centralized UDuck store. This is just a internal state for this specific component. And you're going to start false is our initializer. We're going to move that into the UseEffect. And then, okay, so I want this to be a not is loaded, but this is this use state handle. I need to get access to it. So let's dereference you. That should give us the boolean. Okay. Then inside of here, I want to now set you. So we do need to clone the is loaded. That is loaded. Is loaded dot clone. That way we can now have it access to it inside of this async block. And then what are we going to do? We're going to is loaded set, you're now true. Now, because this is just local state, that should make you a little bit happier. What are you upset about? Oh, we don't have a mark loaded anymore. We have another error. Right, you're not, no mark loaded. No errors. So here we go. Every time that I hit refresh, we are getting the task. Now, this is interesting. Home is refreshing twice, it looks like. It's not necessarily a huge problem, but it does mean that it's completely unloading and reloading this home component uh, twice. Now, I think once because we're here on home, and then a second time when the Udux store gets sort of freshed up. Not necessarily anything we can do about that. If we wanted to, we could move if we don't want to make two requests, we could then move this all into the top level app, and then that would probably stop that from reloading because that's not it's not like sort of a sub page. Okay, so now we can finally continue on with uh, this this test that we're working on, which is up here at the top. It's we want to display individual tasks. So where were we with that? That was in organisms. Okay, we have tasks here. We have our table that we're sort of creating, and we actually show that here. And then we want to put something in the tasks. So this is going to be interesting because we need, for each task that's coming in, we're going to need another row. And so we remember that's where we go. That's where we use like a vector of things, and we can, as long as it just implements display each, we're going to get them to display out here. Okay, so our properties are now going to be, well, do they need to be tasks? We can just load UDUX too. That could work. Or we can grab UDUX from home and pass them in here. I kind of like the idea of just grabbing the tasks here and then passing them in via properties. So let's start that. Here's our UseEffect. I'm gonna go down here closer to the HTML, and we're gonna grab the tasks out. Okay, so once again, this is gonna be useStore. We're gonna use our state. There we go. We're gonna map. This is all the tasks, and if we remember from the store, that is a vec of this task. I think we're going to need to clone these because we can't move out, unfortunately. And then unwrap our default. And I like to just tell this what it is. Otherwise, Rust Analyzer is just no clue. It knows that it's okay, but it's not going to give me any help. So you're going to be a vec of task. And this task specifically is coming from the store. Let's see, store. Oh, you don't know what this is. Let's see. Okay, so we have state, we have map, store. Your type is you're a reference to an RC with, I think, the store inside. And what are you upset about? Type annotations needed. Oh man, are you gonna? Is it just because I try to do that type annotation? It worked for the other one. Let's see. No, okay. So we do uStore, state, map, this store. Type must be known to this point. Oh, right, because it doesn't know this task in here. Even though we have tasks right here with this vector task. So that's a little bit annoying. Because this is fine. Look at that. We have our Oh wait, you know what? I completely forgot. UseStore. I completely forgot to tell it what this is, which is this persistent store. Um, Now looking at this, I kind of want to do the same thing that we did up here. We have store dispatch, pub type. What's our like the store type maybe? Store type equals not two of them. That, which means that you can now be store type. And we see, what are you upset about? Expected colon. Oh, it wouldn't need to be that. There we go. Now you are going to be store type, which means this here, store type. Okay, that's going to make it a little bit happier. Now it knows that this is a store. I can now get the task out, and now REST Analyzer knows about this. Okay. I put myself into a bad situation because I just sort of got ahead of myself with assuming it was going to know what it was. Okay, so we do our unwrapper default. We now have our tasks, which means we can pass this in as a property to tasks. So let's set that up. So we're gonna have pub tasks, and you're gonna be a vec of task from the store. Okay. This is required. So we have our tasks. That's oh, binary operation, right? It needs partial equal for task. Okay, so let's come in here and add in for this task. Let's see if we're allowed to do this. Partial equal. We are. Okay, excellent. So in task, now, okay, we have our table head. The way that this is going to work is that we're going to have a table row. Let's just do this manually once. And then inside of here, we're going to have table data, TD, for each one of these things. So one for priority, one for completed, and one for task. We're going to ignore the first two for right now, and we want this one to be like just, I don't know, do something. If we come back to here, we should now see the do something show up under task. Okay, it kind of is there. We have maybe a little bit odd CSS, but the general idea is correct. So we need to now dynamically create these rows and these TD items for each of these. Okay. Because we have these tasks, we're going to need to turn it into HTML, aren't we? Because I don't think we can't just like throw tasks in here. Like if I just throw in like this is not going to work. Let's see. Doesn't know what to do with this, right? Yeah, it doesn't know how to convert this into like an HTML child or something like that. So we need to create that ourselves. Let's create a function for it. So function, this is going to be, it's going to be a TDs and like TRs. So like table data. And then we're going to pass in the props. So it's going to take in tasks. We could take in a reference to the tasks, or we can just take ownership of this. I'm not. Let's try passing in a reference and sort of like see how it handles. So this is gonna be a reference to a vector of task. We're gonna return HTML. And then inside of here, we're gonna want this like to be a bunch of TRs. So we can now pass in table data and props.tasks, specifically a reference. Okay, now it's just yelling at us that we're not returning HTML. Okay, so next up, how are we going to get the actual like table information? So we know we want that table row. We want a bunch of them, like one per one of these things. Doing a for loop seems to be pretty simple. We could, we don't actually need to do like a normal for loop. We just have like a vector of things that display properly. And as long as we have like the task. So in this case, we want the task titles is all we're really concerned with. So I wonder if we can do a new vector. So I wonder if this is actually going to be HTML or if we're going to return a vec of strings. We're going to want, well, is it really going to be a vector of strings? We're going to have like TDs and other things in it. I don't know what we're going to have. Let's just do that for right now. I'm also going to throw a to-do in there so it doesn't yell at me quite as much. Although that's still going to yell at me. Fine. We can loop through all the tasks and create, what are we going to create? The TDs. There's actually, let's go review loops. Well, specifically lists here. So if we have this vector of things, then we can throw that in there. That, I think what we discovered is that just puts the numbers in there. We have to, I think, return the UL separately. Oh, we can do this collect HTML, which turns, okay, it figures out what it's supposed to be. That might be what we want to do. Okay, let's see. So I want a table row for each one of these. So we're going to want to loop through. So let's just try a normal for loop. So we're going to do for task and tasks. We're going to have a vector that we're going to loop into. So I'm going to do this non-functional sort of first. Let mute. Let's have our result. And we're going to return this result. Inside of here, I want to now take each of these task things and stuff it in to task. Well, what that means, we need like a result push. We're going to push in some HTML. Inside the HTML, we're going to have a TD. No, sorry, TR is what we're going to start with. inside of there, we're going to have TD. We're going to have actually 3 of them. Oh, I did not mean. Okay. 2. We're going to close it first. There we go. First one is priority, so I don't care about any of those yet. I just want the tasks. So inside of here, I want task.title to throw that in there. Are you going to make me clone that out? So far, no. Now we know that we're pushing HTML in here. So my first initial thought was correct. So that is this HTML. Cannot move out, so we can go ahead and clone you. Okay, so hey, look at that. Now we see my details for clicking me. So this is working. We're able to now get all of these to show up here. Now styling is a little bit off. So we have our table th, tds, trs, and tds. Okay, that's all good so far. We're gonna want for this table maybe. Want to style this a little bit better. So what if I do for each of these THs, what if I set like a width? It might be each of these. So if I do like a width of, I don't know, 100 pixels, and you another one. You're going to be the longest one. So I'm going to do a width of like maybe 500 pixels. That's not terrible, but look at the next thing. This is sort of working. You're, however, down after this ends, aren't you? Yeah, this 500 pixels there. Goes there. Okay, so not super great. What are my choices for styling tables? Let's see. This TR. So then we go to a new table row, and I want this to sort of like reset again and be back to the left. The other choice is like if I don't have any of these. You're down there. Is this actually supposed to be a like a table head? Oh, now, okay, well. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so the big difference here, when I went to T head instead of TH, that moved there. Wait, are these supposed to be THs and not TDs? They might be. Apparently, I don't, it's so rare that we use tables anymore. There we go. That's what I want to do. T head and then THs like this. Okay, so we want to go back and change this. So you're now going to be T head, and each of you are going to be TH. These are all going to be fine. So we still want the table rows. We're going to go ahead and save you. See this auto refresh. Now, if I take any of these, like these rows, let's say I do like a margin, I don't know, let's do like a margin 25 pixels. You don't care. Margin has no effect on internal table elements. Oh, we're gonna want settings display. I don't want to do a display property. Oh, but I can do it on a table cell. Let's see. Oh, I want to not style that way. There is a way to set. Oh, maybe we can do the width. Width of like pixels. I want you to be much larger. This seems to be working a little bit better. Seems to, but that's just setting the table header, which is not necessarily what I wanted. There's like a calls, isn't there? Where I can set like the columns for this. I'm starting to remember all the different things that we can do. Uh, column count. Is this? I don't actually know if I can do that on column. I think that this is actually a grid thing. I think what you do is you set on like on the table itself how many columns wide this is going to be. For right now, I think we're going to be fine with this. We're going to want a little bit of space and gap between. Let's do a little Google search for this. This can be just styling table CSS. The big thing when like figuring out styling for Yew is that it's just like remembering where it's going to run. This is not special because it's Rust. It's not special because it's Yew. It's going to run in the context of a browser. So any of the documentation for browser is going to work for us. So we want to do something like this, right? So I don't need a table border. Table size could be helpful. Within table are defined by the width and height properties. So that's on the table itself. So, and that was a table width. So I'm actually going to come back to here and play around with that a little bit. So we have our table. I'm going to say width equals, let's do, if I do like 75%, okay, it gets me to here. These aren't centered, but I think that's going to be fine. So I want maybe we can set this to be like a smaller number. Let's try, we're targeting sort of like a 1920 by 1080 1080 here. We're not going for like multiple systems and we're not doing like breakpoints. That's maybe like a different course. That is more of a CSS course. What if we do like 900 pixels? It's a little bit too much. Something like this looks fine. It's like 500 pixels actually doesn't look too terribly bad. I don't know if I necessarily want to left align or so like center align all of these things. But if I did, we would take this. Oh, we know what? Probably still on the table. We do text align center. That works. Now you can be whatever you want. You can go back to 75%, for example, and that's fine. I think something like I think this is fine. We can like as we get more text, more items on here, we can sort of play with our width. But we now know it's width and text align on the table itself. That's where we're gonna put stuff. So in our tasks, also we have no CSS. Let's fix that. All right, what are you going to be? You're going to be um, on the table itself, so I don't need to put a selector. We're going to just do a width of maybe, let's try like 50% right now. Something above us is actually setting what that width is going to be. So like 50% of that is going to be fine. Or maybe you should even be just 100%. And then whatever is above us sets that to be something smaller. Could be interesting. I'm not going to worry about it right now. And then we're going to have a text align center. And there we go. Okay, so now we have relatively okay styled. I don't think we need this home here. I don't think we need that at all. So where's my HTML? Down here. We can just get rid of you. And we're just gonna have the tasks. And then we'll just we'll display these tasks out. If we're logged out, we'll just have this priority completed task. That'll be fine. We can always do an if statement to show them only if things are logged, we have them. But let's go ahead and check our tests again. It's expecting us to have these be a task link and to actually be a link. That's gonna be something. So we need a task now. I mean, if I just put on a task link, let's go into task. If I just put onto each one of these a data test equals task link, I mean, that'll make that part of the test pass. But the very next thing is probably going to try to click you. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we got the task link. That was fine. It tries to get the first one, which is this I am a task. And then it tried to click it, which that's a problem. This actually does need to be a link. I believe we have a link here. We have a BB link. So let's pull that in. And so inside of here, we're going to need to have this TD. That's going to be fine. But in here, this is where the BB link gets used. Now we need to go refresh ourselves of what are the properties that this needs. We're going to have apparently a link type. Link type's default is just a normal link. So I think that's going to be fine in this instance. Okay, so props. Text. Okay, so that's going to be the first thing. So text is going to be equal to the title. So you're going to test that title clone data test. And that's going to be that task link. Oh, a route. Where should this go? We can right now just set this to go home, but we are going to need the route for this. And the link type is an option. Okay. What are you yelling about? So we have data test. Oh, you need to be a string, I believe. Oh, and you need to be closed. Close you. You need to be a string. See, BB link, that's closing here. So open, close, open, close. That is 2 of them. Don't need that. Okay. These are now links. Okay, that's great. Which means it can now click on them. That's going to be good. But it wants to take us to an actual task page. Let's see where is it going? Where is it taking us? Okay, so it's now looking for the URL, and it wants the URL to include /tasks. Right, because it's gonna be /tasks and then the ID of the task to make sure that it is the specific. That's how we're gonna know what task to load up. Okay, so that means in our router, we are going to need to create another route, which means we need an actual like task page. All right, we know what to do. Bring in the prelude through this. Are we going to need to bring in Udux? Probably. But for like right away, probably not. We'll just go ahead and put in just something simple. So we'll do a styled component. This will be a task. Let's do this as like one task. So I'm okay with changing the name of this too for just one task. We're probably going to need in some props. Okay, and we're going to turn that HTML. Okay, so now that we have this, what are we going to do? We're going to create our style sheet. We're going to leave that blank for right now, but we'll be using it soon. We don't really have anything to put in here right now, so we're just going to do a good old static h1 with one task. Can I find that macro? Oh, well, that's interesting. I apparently forgot to put the star on prelude. Prelude star. There we go. That'll make that a little bit happier. Okay, so back to router. We'll pull that in. So that's going to be, pages. One task. And here, do one task. This is going to be at /tasks. Now we're gonna want this right now. It's probably okay just to be /tasks. We're gonna want this to have something inside of it. We'll deal with that very shortly. Or possibly next time. We'll see. I'm running out of time. So this can be our one task. Okay, so now when I click on you, oh, that doesn't take us to the one task because we need to go back to tasks here, the list of it, and switch your route to go to one task. Okay, so we should now include this task. Oh, it's looking for, very interesting. Okay, so it's actually looking for a slash at the end of tasks because it's looking for something. It's looking for the ID on the end, but it doesn't know which one it necessarily clicked on. It thinks. So that's going to be a thing. Like it doesn't know what that ID is going to be. So let's let us go and look at our router. It should say in here how we can have sort of like path segments or anything else. So specifically there, look at that. Okay, so I want an ID on the end of these tasks, and then that's what's being passed in here. And so, okay, let's do that. We have our router. Okay, so tasks colon ID. Now one task is going to take in, it looks like an anonymous struct. With an ID of, this should be a U32 because we're storing it as U32 in U.Duck store. So that should be fine. If we go back to task now you're upset and I need to set, okay, you're an ID. And that's going to be this task.id. Okay, so you're going to get, well, this is nice. We're going to get the ID out of here. Expected. Okay, so I get the ID out of here. Do I have to actually tell you just the type? No, I think that's fine. And then I want to use you. I want to extract this. Do you have an example of how to do that? It is. Okay, so ID is then used right here. Okay, so easy enough. We have that route. ID, and then we want to pass in the ID. Okay, so back to one task. We're going to have a pub ID, which is going to be a U32. That's going to be absolutely required. What are you upset about now? You are, oh, you're a reference to a U32. I want you to take ownership of that. So we're just going to do ID equals a dereferenced ID. Okay, great. We should now be able to see this. Let's go back to here and sort of like see how this is working. If I click on you, I now am on task 31. Okay, excellent. Back to you. Let's hit refresh, and now it should work as expected. And it does. Okay, so we expected the URL to include /tasks. It does. Now it's trying to find the data test title, which we are going to start working on next time because I run out of time for today. So with hopefully this has been helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.